Rain tapped gently against the windows of the old house in Summitville, Ohio, casting a soothing rhythm as Eva Watson stood by the kitchen sink, watching her hydrangeas bow under the weight of spring showers. 30 years as a nurse had gifted her a quiet strength, mirrored in the deep compassion behind her steady blue eyes. She glanced at her watch. Lana would arrive soon with Mia. The lemon tea steamed beside a tray of freshly baked blueberry muffins, warm and inviting, waiting for hands that hadn't been held in too long. When the doorbell rang, Eva opened it to find her daughter wrapped in elegance. Tall, composed, dressed in a sleek designer suit with her blonde hair tucked neatly beneath her coat collar. "Mom, I'm sorry we're late," Lana said with a brisk kiss, her voice practiced, distant. But Eva's gaze shifted past her to the girl behind, Mia. The vibrant child she'd hugged last Christmas had vanished. In her place stood a thin shadow, shoulders hunched, eyes cast low, the light in them dimmed. "Hello, Grandma," Mia whispered, unmoving as Eva's arms reached out, only to meet resistance. Still, Eva smiled and welcomed them in. Cole was already on the sofa, all charm and confidence, his smile practiced to perfection. "Ava, you haven't aged a day," he said, smooth as glass. But behind the compliment lingered that same cold gleam in his eyes, the one Eva never trusted, especially when it flickered toward her daughter and granddaughter. As they sat with tea, Eva asked gently about the details of the overseas assignment. Lana rushed to answer, as though rehearsed. Singapore. A major project. An exciting opportunity. "We'll be so busy," she said. "We thought it best to leave Mia with you." But Eva saw the strain behind her daughter's eyes, the exhaustion masked by lipstick and poise. She remembered the growing silence between their calls, the missed holidays, the vague responses. "I'm fine, Mom. Just busy," Lana would say, every time Eva tried to reach deeper. When Eva offered to show Mia her room upstairs, the girl only nodded after glancing at her mother. Step by step, they climbed in silence, and Eva's heart clenched at how frail Mia's figure had become. Upstairs, the sunniest room waited, its windows framing the old oak tree out back. "A family of squirrels lives there," Eva said softly, pulling open the curtains. "They're busy every morning, running up and down the branches." Mia looked, but said nothing. She just sat on the edge of the bed, small and silent, as if trying not to exist at all. And in that moment, as the rain continued to fall, Eva understood. This visit wasn't just temporary, and this silence wasn't just shyness. It was the quiet cry of a child who had been overlooked for far too long. Eva sat quietly beside her granddaughter, resting a gentle hand on the girl's trembling shoulder. "What's wrong, Mia? You can tell me," she said softly. For a flicker of a second, Mia's eyes met hers, haunted, pleading, but the moment vanished as she dropped her gaze and whispered, "Nothing, Grandma." Cole's voice called from downstairs, crisp and commanding, and Eva felt Mia's small frame flinch at the sound. At the doorway, Lana embraced Mia with a rehearsed warmth and said, "Be good, don't trouble Grandma." Cole offered a mechanical pat on the head, his eyes sharp, cold. "Don't worry, Eva. Mia's an easy child," he said with a smile that didn't match the chill in his tone. Eva nodded, but her instincts whispered otherwise. After the car disappeared down the driveway, she turned to her granddaughter and said gently, "It's just us now. You're safe here. Always." Mia only nodded, silent. The next morning, sunlight streamed across Eva's worn kitchen, casting gold across the table as she prepared French toast with strawberries and maple syrup, Mia's childhood favorite. But there was no sound from upstairs. When Mia finally descended, her voice barely lifted above a whisper. "Good morning, Grandma." Her pajamas hung loose on her frame. Her smile was thin and frayed. She poked at her food without tasting it. "It looks delicious," she said, but didn't eat. Lunch came and went the same way. Dinner, too. Day after day, Eva served meals filled with care, with memories, with love. But Mia never truly ate. Chicken noodle soup, chocolate chip cookies, blueberry pancakes, all went untouched. "Tell me what you want, sweetheart." "Anything," Eva pleaded gently. But Mia only smiled that sad, tired smile and murmured, "I'm fine." Eva knew better. Late one night, she was stirred awake by muffled sobs. She followed the sound to Mia's room and opened the door to find her granddaughter curled beneath the covers, trembling, trapped in a nightmare. Eva gathered her into her arms. "It's all right. I'm here." Mia jolted awake, eyes wide with fear. "Dad was—" she began, then stopped, clamping her mouth shut as tears spilled down her cheeks. Eva's heart tightened. "What about your dad?" she asked gently, but Mia just shook her head and buried her face against her chest. The next morning, Eva placed an international call. Lana's voice crackled through the distance. "Mom? Is everything okay?" There was tension in her tone, something brittle beneath the surface. "Lana, I'm worried," Eva said, her voice calm but firm. "Mia isn't eating. She cries in her sleep. She's frightened, withdrawn. Something is wrong." On the other end, Lana hesitated, silence stretching like a thread ready to snap. And Eva knew, without any doubt, that the answers lay not in distance, but in the things left unsaid, and that someone had to finally stop pretending everything was fine. After a long pause on the line, Lana's voice returned, clipped and too controlled. "Oh, don't worry, Mom. It's just a teenage phase. Mia's always been a little anxious. She lost some weight before we left, but the doctor said she's fine." "But Lana—" Eva tried, concern deepening. "Mom, I'm sorry, I have a meeting. I know Mia's in good hands with you. I'm counting on you." The line went dead. Eva stood holding the receiver, unsettled. Her daughter's words felt rehearsed, as though there was something she wanted to say but couldn't. That same week, a call came from Mia's school nurse. "Ms. Watson, Mia got dizzy in gym class. She's resting now, but she looks pale and hasn't been engaging with anyone. I thought you should know." Eva rushed to the school, her heart cracking at the sight of Mia curled up on a cot, hollow-eyed and fragile. "Sweetheart," she murmured on the drive home. "You need to eat. Your body needs it." Mia kept her eyes on the rain-blurred window. "I know, but I just can't." The next day, Eva took her to Dr. Carter. His diagnosis was gentle but clear. No physical issues, just emotional distress. "It's psychological, likely stress-related," he explained. "She may need to speak to someone professionally, but most importantly, she needs to feel safe." Eva nodded, her nurse's instincts confirming what her heart already suspected. Something deeper was wrong. That Friday, a message arrived from Lana. "Cole and I would like to speak with Mia tomorrow morning." When Eva told her, she saw the light vanish from Mia's face. "Don't you want to talk to them?" she asked gently. Mia shook her head too quickly. "No. I mean, yes. I'm fine." But at dinner, she barely touched her food, poking at the flaky crust of Eva's warm pot pie with a distant gaze. Eva said nothing, only smiled softly. "You don't have to eat if you're not ready. Just tell me when you are." That night, long after the house had quieted and the clock ticked past 10, a soft knock came at Eva's door. "Come in," she said. Mia stepped in slowly, her hands clenched into fists at her sides, eyes glassy with fear. "Grandma, can we talk?" Her voice was barely a whisper. Eva set her book aside, heart thudding. "Of course, love. Sit with me." Mia perched carefully on the edge of the bed, arms wrapped around her knees, as though holding herself together. Moonlight caught her pale features, casting her in a quiet glow. "Mia," Eva said gently, "you haven't been yourself, and I think you want to tell me why." The air between them thickened with silence, not of resistance, but of a storm finally preparing to speak. As the moonlight bathed the quiet room, Eva's voice gently reached across the bed. "Has something difficult happened, Mia?" The words unlocked something, and tears welled in Mia's eyes. "Dad," she began, choking. "Dad, Mom and I—" Her voice broke, and then she collapsed into sobs. Eva didn't hesitate. She gathered her granddaughter into her arms, feeling the initial tension in Mia's body slowly give way to trembling trust. "It's okay," Eva whispered, holding her close. "I'm on your side. No matter what, Grandma will protect you." When the crying ebbed, Eva handed her a tissue. "Take your time, sweetheart. Tell me when you're ready." Mia clutched the tissue, looked out the window, and finally spoke in a fragile voice. "When Dad gets angry, he hits Mom." Eva's heart clenched, but she said nothing, letting the girl unburden herself. "They used to just yell, but last year he started pushing her. 4 months ago, he came home drunk and hit her hard. I tried to stop him." Mia reached for her arm, revealing a fading bruise. Eva's breath caught. "He hit you too?" she asked softly, fury buried beneath control. Mia nodded. "He said if I told anyone, I'd never see Mom again. And she says it's a family matter, that we can't talk about it." Eva took her hand gently, her heart a storm of rage and sorrow. "Why aren't you eating, sweetheart? Is that part of it too?" Fear flickered in Mia's eyes. "Dad says if I gain weight, I'm ugly. If I eat too much, there'll be punishment. He says I have to be perfect." Her voice broke again. Eva's hands trembled, but she kept her touch steady as she cupped Mia's face. "Mia, what you just shared took so much courage. You've done nothing wrong. What your dad is doing is wrong, and your mom should have protected you." Conflicted pain crossed Mia's face. "But Mom's scared too. She tries so hard not to make him mad, but nothing works." Eva nodded. "I know she's scared, but this isn't something we can keep quiet about anymore. We need help." Mia tensed. "The police?" "Yes," Eva said firmly. "And don't worry, he won't hurt you again." "I promise." Holding her close, she whispered, "Sleep with Grandma tonight. Tomorrow we'll do the right thing." Once Mia drifted into sleep, Eva rose quietly, went to the living room, and with steady hands but a thunderous heart, dialed the police. "Hello," she said calmly. "I'd like to report domestic violence and child abuse." Morning came bright and clear, and 2 police cars pulled up to the house, sunlight glinting off the windows like a promise. In the living room, Eva sat beside Mia, holding her hand, as Officer Rachel Morrison and Jennifer Clark from Child Welfare Services listened with quiet compassion. And in that moment, surrounded by people who were finally listening, Eva knew. The silence had been broken, and Mia's safety, long overdue, had finally begun. "Mia, don't be afraid," Officer Rachel Morrison said gently, her voice steady with the calm authority of someone who'd spent 15 years supporting survivors of domestic violence, especially children. Seated beside her grandmother, Mia clutched Eva's hand, her own trembling fingers betraying the storm inside as she began to speak. At first, her voice was soft and broken, but as she recounted the first blow, the first bruise, the first time fear settled in their home like a shadow, her words grew stronger, steadier, like a girl reclaiming the ground beneath her. Officer Morrison listened carefully, asking only what was necessary, documenting every word with care, while Jennifer Clark from Child Welfare Services leaned in quietly to catch every nuance. "Do you have any physical evidence?" Clark asked, turning to Eva. "Photos, messages, anything that documents this?" Eva shook her head. "Only the bruises she still has, and the weight loss, the nightmares, the silence." Morrison nodded and gently photographed the fading marks on Mia's arms, while Clark noted the disturbing change in behavior. Then came the inevitable question. "Have you contacted Cole or Lana?" Eva hadn't. At least, not since last night. "They're supposed to call at 9. As if on cue, the phone rang. Eva glanced at Officer Morrison, who gave her a nod. She lifted the receiver. "Eva, is Mia up?" Lana's voice was tight, nervous. "Cole wants to talk to her." Eva responded with calm gravity. "Lana, the police and child welfare services are here. There's been a formal report." Silence. Then Cole's voice exploded through the receiver. "What? What did Mia say? You're letting this happen?" Officer Morrison calmly took the phone. "Mr. Johnson, this is Officer Morrison with the Summitville Police Department. I strongly advise you and your wife to return immediately. Your daughter has made serious allegations, and we are opening an official investigation." Cole's voice bristled with outrage. "She's lying. She's a child. You're taking a 12-year-old's word over mine?" Morrison remained cool. "We are conducting an investigation. You'll have an opportunity to respond, formally." Lana's frightened voice slipped in, pleading, "Cole, calm down. We'll cooperate. We're coming back today." When the call ended, Eva turned to Mia, holding her close. "You're safe now, sweetheart. No one will hurt you again." Hours later, a luxury car pulled up to the house. Cole emerged in a flawless suit, jaw set, eyes cold. Lana followed, visibly shaken. 2 officers greeted them at the door. Inside, Officer Morrison, Ms. Clark, Assistant District Attorney Michael Davis, Eva, and Mia awaited. "This is a misunderstanding," Cole declared immediately. "I've never laid a hand on my wife or daughter. This is a teenager's fantasy, an attention ploy." But as he spoke, Mia shrank behind Eva, her small form cowering beneath his shadow. "Listen, Mia," Cole said coldly, fixing her with that sharp stare. "You're going to destroy this family with lies. You need to stop this now." "Mr. Johnson, that's enough," ADA Davis interrupted sharply. "We have testimony. We have physical evidence. You will not intimidate your daughter in front of witnesses." Lana finally broke her silence, voice cracking. "What evidence?" "What did Mia say?" Clark gently approached her. "Mrs. Johnson, would you speak with me in private?" Lana hesitated, looked at her husband, who shot her a warning glare. But something shifted in her. Her eyes flickered with something unspoken, some long-buried ache finally surfacing. Slowly, she stood and followed Ms. Clark into the other room, leaving Cole alone to face the unraveling truth he had spent years controlling. Officer Morrison remained by Mia's side, firm and unshaken. Justice had begun. Not with shouting, but with a girl's trembling voice refusing to be silenced any longer. "Mr. Johnson, you need to come with us to the station for questioning on suspicion of domestic violence and child abuse." The words struck the room like a thunderclap, but Cole's reaction was all fire and ego. "This is an insult," he barked, rising to his feet. "I have a lawyer. These ridiculous accusations won't hold." But before he could continue, a tremor of courage stirred beside Eva. Mia, trembling yet unshaken, stepped slightly forward from her grandmother's embrace. "It's not a lie," she said, her voice small but forged in steel. "Dad hit me. He hit Mom. I was always afraid." The fury on Cole's face turned his skin crimson. "Be quiet!" he roared, just as a gut-wrenching scream pierced the room. All heads turned to see Lana stumble out from the other room, her face twisted in grief, her body collapsing to the floor as tears poured down her cheeks. "I can't take it anymore," she sobbed. "Mia's telling the truth. Cole has been hurting us for years." Her sleeves rolled back, revealing bruises, raw, undeniable proof. "These are from last week. He always made sure they couldn't be seen. He pushed for that trip overseas just to dodge suspicion." For a heartbeat, Cole faltered. Then, scrambling to regain control, he sneered. "Lana, what are you talking about?" "That was an accident. You fell down the stairs." But Lana, years of fear burning into clarity, stood tall. "Number, you hit me. You threatened Mia. You ruled our lives with fear." The room held its breath as Assistant D.A. Davis gave a silent nod, and the officers stepped forward, cuffing Cole's wrists. "Cole Johnson, you're under arrest for domestic violence and child abuse." He struggled, spitting threats. "You'll regret this. I have power." But the front door closed behind him with finality, and power slipped from his grasp like sand through broken fingers. Lana, shaking, crossed the room and wrapped Mia in a fierce embrace. "I'm so sorry, baby. I should have protected you." Mia clung to her mother, silent tears falling, and Eva, watching them both, felt a deep tide of emotion, grief, relief, and something stronger rising: hope. Officer Morrison placed a hand on Eva's shoulder and explained gently, "We'll start the paperwork for a protective order, set up counseling, and arrange temporary shelter." But Eva's voice was steady. "They don't need shelter. They're staying here. I'll protect them." Ms. Clark nodded, her tone solemn. "It will be a long road, but today was a powerful first step." Outside, the police car carrying Cole disappeared down the street. 1 year later, spring sunlight danced through the windows of Eva's house in Summitville. In the backyard, hydrangeas stretched toward the sky, the old oak tree thick with new leaves, and the scent of pancakes filled the kitchen with warmth. "Grandma, do we have enough maple syrup?" Mia called cheerfully from the stairs. "Yes, plenty," Eva replied with a smile. Lana entered from the garden, hair tied back, gardening gloves tucked into her belt, holding a bunch of fresh bluebells. "Coffee's perfect, Mom," she said, kissing Eva's cheek. The three of them sat at the breakfast table, laughter bubbling gently beneath the soft hum of peace. Mia, now radiant with health, loaded her plate with pancakes and poured syrup generously, her cheeks pink with life. "Nervous about your school presentation today?" Eva asked. Mia grinned with pride. "Nope, I'm ready. Mrs. Parker says my poem might win." Lana reached over and ran her fingers through Mia's hair. "Your poem is beautiful, sweetheart. It's full of strength, just like you." And in that sunlit kitchen, surrounded by the scent of wildflowers and syrup, the silence that once haunted their lives had been replaced by something rare and healing. A family rebuilt. Not from fear, but from truth. 1 year had passed since the storm that shattered their silence, and in its wake, Ava, Lana, and Mia had rebuilt not just their lives, but their spirits. Lana had found a new job at a local company, and, slowly but steadily, was reclaiming her independence, her confidence stitched back together through therapy and the quiet strength of her daughter and mother. Mia, once a shadow of herself, now flourished in the school's poetry club, pouring her pain into verses that inspired others to speak their truths. Every week, the three women, wounded, healing, and resilient, attended family counseling sessions with Dr. Miller. There had been sobs, confessions, even silence too heavy to bear, But through each session, they peeled back the layers of trauma and replaced them with trust. "The verdict is this afternoon," Lana said softly over breakfast, her voice steady but tight. Eva reached for her daughter's hand, her eyes warm and unwavering. "Whatever happens, we're together now, and no one can ever hurt you again." Cole's trial had dragged through months of denial and theatrics, his expensive lawyers twisting narratives. But the truth, delivered with raw courage by Mia and Lana, could not be denied. Backed by medical records, psychological reports, and the bruises no child or wife should ever have to explain, the jury had seen through the lies. A long sentence was expected, and this time, justice had a voice. "Do you think Dad regrets it?" Mia asked suddenly, not with fear, but curiosity, like she was examining a distant figure in history, not someone who once loomed over her life. Lana looked at her daughter and said gently, "Maybe. But that's not ours to worry about. We're living forward now." Eva smiled. "What matters is that you're safe and happy." Later, under the golden hush of early summer, the three women spread a picnic blanket across the grass at the local park. The air shimmered with warmth. Children played in the distance, squirrels darted through tree branches, and the world felt gentle again. Mia sat close to Eva, helping arrange sandwiches with a quiet hum. Then she paused, looking up with serious eyes. "Grandma," she said, "I'm glad I found the courage that day." Eva's chest tightened, her eyes softening. "You were so brave, sweetheart." "But what if I hadn't said anything?" "But you did," Eva said, her voice like a gentle chord. "And the truth, even when it hurts, is what sets us free." Lana joined them, settling on the blanket, her eyes misted with regret and gratitude. "I wish I'd found my courage sooner," she said. "I wish I had protected her better." Eva reached across and took her hand. "We can't change what's behind us," she said. "But the path ahead is ours to choose, and we walk it together." The three of them, grandmother, daughter, and granddaughter, sat beneath the sun, hands linked, hearts open. No more fear, no more secrets, just a future shimmering with hope. Mia's laugh returned to her, light and full. Lana's eyes carried strength again. And Eva, who had once feared she'd lost her family to silence, felt the deepest peace settle in her chest. From a nearby church, the bells rang out, marking the hour. And as the sound echoed across the sky, Eva smiled, knowing this moment, this simple, shared joy, was what legacy truly meant: love, truth, and the courage to begin again.